Welcome to the Echoes of Ihsan podcast. Today, we're going on a deep dive, you know, into a world of wisdom, exploring Imam al-Ghazali's Ihya Ulum. Specifically, we're looking at Volume 2, the Book of Worldly Usages.
It's fascinating. You know how al-Ghazali, a prominent scholar of the 11th century, sought to bridge the gap between outward actions and inner spirituality? Yeah, this book is like a guide to living a life where even the most mundane activities become acts of worship, bringing you closer to the divine.
Okay, so we're not just talking about abstract theology here. This is about practical advice for daily living. From what I understand, this volume covers everything, from eating habits to social etiquette. I'm curious to see how al-Ghazali brings spirituality into those everyday routines.
Exactly. And a great example of that is the very first chapter, which
And
focuses on food and hospitality. You might not think of meals as being particularly spiritual, but al-Ghazali shows how. Even these seemingly basic acts can be transformed with the right intentions and practices.
so it's about mindfulness, being present and aware, even when we're just grabbing a bite to eat.
That's a big part of it. Al-Ghazali emphasizes that food isn't just about sustenance, it's a gift from God, a blessing to be received with gratitude and awareness.
I'm starting to see how this connects to the concept of Ihsan, that striving for excellence and beauty in all that we do. It's like even our meals can be an expression of that.
Precisely, and that sense of intentionality starts even before we take the first bite. Al-Ghazali highlights the importance of ensuring that the food we consume is halal, meaning permissible according to Islamic law.
So it's not just about what we eat, but also where it comes from and how it was obtained.
Absolutely. Al-Ghazali stresses that the food should be acquired through honest and ethical means, free from any exploitation or injustice. This reminds us of the interconnectedness of our actions, how our choices as consumers can have ripple effects in the world.
It's making me think about where my food comes from and the impact my choices might have on others.
That's a powerful reflection. Al-Ghazali believed that consuming unlawful food can actually hinder our spiritual progress. It's like a barrier between us and the divine.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
So ethical consumption is not just about being a good person. It's actually tied to our spiritual well-being.
That's the depth of Al-Ghazali's teachings. He connects seemingly worldly matters to our spiritual core. Even something as simple as washing our hands before eating, which we might do out of habit, becomes a symbolic act of purification.
He elevates these everyday routines to a whole new level. It's like we're infusing them with deeper meaning. I'm imagining myself pausing before a meal, taking a moment to wash my hands, and feeling that sense of cleansing, both physically and spiritually.
That's the essence of it, and that mindfulness continues as we eat. Al-Ghazali advises against excessive indulgence, reminding us to eat only to the point of satisfaction, not to the point of feeling overstuffed and sluggish.
That makes sense. I know I've definitely felt that post-Thanksgiving dinner regret before,
What?
where I've eaten way more than I should have.
We've all been there. But Al-Ghazali's point is that this kind of overindulgence isn't just physically unhealthy, it also goes against the spirit of moderation and gratitude that he emphasizes.
So it's about finding that balance right, enjoying the blessings of food, but not letting it become an obsession or a source of excess.
Exactly. And part of that balance is remembering the source of our sustenance. Al-Ghazali stresses the importance of reciting Bismillah, in the name of God, before each meal.
That's something my family has always done. But I admit, sometimes it's more of a rote tradition than a mindful act.
I think we can all relate to that, but Al-Ghazali reminds us that this simple phrase is a way to acknowledge God's provision, to cultivate a sense of gratitude for the food we have, and to transform eating from a purely physical act into a spiritual one.
It's like a mini prayer, a moment of connection with the divine, woven into our daily routine.
And that's what's so beautiful about Al-Ghazali's teachings. He finds those opportunities for spirituality in the most unexpected places, even when we're eating alone. He outlines specific guidelines that emphasize mindfulness and intentionality.
I'm curious about that. What are some of those guidelines for eating solo?
Well, in addition to ensuring that the food is lawful and obtained ethically, he advises against eating too quickly or in an unmannerly fashion.
So even if no one's watching, it's still about maintaining a certain level of decorum and respect.
Exactly. It's about cultivating adab, that sense of proper conduct and etiquette, which is a key principle in Islamic teachings. Even in our private moments, we should strive for excellence and beauty, reflecting the divine attributes in our actions. Al-Ghazali reminds us that God is always watching, even when no one else is.
That's a powerful reminder to bring our best selves to every situation, even when we're alone. It's about holding ourselves to a higher standard, not just for appearances, but for our own spiritual growth.
It's about aligning our inner and outer selves, ensuring that our actions, even in private, reflect the values we hold dear.
Okay, I'm starting to get a real sense of how al-Ghazali elevates even the simplest acts to a level of spiritual significance.
And that's just the beginning. His insights on eating with others, the concept of hospitality, are even more fascinating.
That's what I'm really excited to delve into. I've always felt that there's something special about sharing meals with others, but I'm eager to hear how al-Ghazali frames it within a spiritual context.
Well, get ready, because his teachings on hospitality are rich with wisdom and practical guidance. He doesn't just talk about manners, he elevates hospitality to a spiritual practice, a way to embody generosity, compassion, and divine love.
That sounds amazing. Let's dive into that in our next segment.
Welcome back to our exploration of Imam al-Ghazali's Ihya Ulum.
We're continuing our deep dive into Volume 2, the Book of Worldly Usages, specifically focusing on al-Ghazali's teachings on hospitality.
You know, in the previous segment, we discussed how al-Ghazali transforms the act of eating into a spiritual practice, even when dining alone.
Right. It's not just about satisfying our hunger. It's about mindfulness, gratitude, and ethical consumption. But I'm really curious to hear how these concepts expand when we bring other people into the equation.
We'll get ready to be amazed, because al-Ghazali's perspective on hospitality is truly remarkable. He doesn't just see it as good manners or social etiquette, he elevates it to a spiritual duty, a pathway to divine closeness.
Wow, a spiritual duty. That's a powerful way to frame it. It makes me think about all those times I've stressed over having the perfect dinner party, or worried about whether my guests were having a good time. Maybe it's less about the details and more about the underlying intention.
You're hitting on something really important. Al-Ghazali emphasizes that the essence of hospitality lies in the sincerity of the host's intentions. It's about genuinely wanting to create a welcoming and comfortable atmosphere for your guests, motivated by a desire to please God and to embody his attributes of generosity and kindness.
So it's less about impressing people with fancy food
Yeah.
and more about creating a space where they
Yes.
feel truly welcomed and cared for.
Exactly. It's about extending warmth, respect, and genuine hospitality. Regardless of the guest's social standing or background, Al-Ghazali reminds us that every guest is a gift from God, an opportunity to practice kindness and to earn divine rewards.
I love that. Every guest is a gift from God. It really shifts your perspective. Suddenly that friend who always shows up late, or the relative who can be a bit critical, seems less like a burden and more like a chance to cultivate patience and grace.
That's the beauty of Al-Ghazali's teachings. He challenges us to see the spiritual potential. In every interaction, every situation, he reminds us that even the most challenging guests can be teachers in disguise, helping us to refine our character and strengthen our connection with the divine.
Okay, so intention is key. But I'm sure al-Ghazali also provides some practical guidance on how to be a good host. After all, good intentions don't magically create a delicious meal or a comfortable seating arrangement.
Oh, absolutely. He goes into quite a bit of detail, outlining specific recommendations for both the host and the guest. For the host, it starts with creating a welcoming physical space.
What does that look like? Does he have specific rules about how your home should be decorated or how the table should be set?
It's less about aesthetics and more about ensuring comfort and convenience for your guests. Al-Ghazali advises against crowding guests or making them feel cramped. He emphasizes having ample space for them to sit and relax comfortably.
So no squeezing 10 people around the table meant for 6. I'm guilty of that.
We've all been there. But Al-Ghazali's point is that hospitality should be effortless and enjoyable, not stressful or burdensome for either the host or the guest.
That makes sense. It's about creating an environment where everyone can feel at ease and truly enjoy each other's company.
Precisely. And of course, generosity is paramount. Al-Ghazali stresses the importance of providing ample food and drink for your guests.
But he probably cautions against going overboard, right?
Huh.
I remember reading something about avoiding ostentatious displays of wealth.
You're exactly right. He emphasizes offering food and drink generously, but without being extravagant or wasteful. It's about striking that balance between honoring your guests and avoiding excessive showiness.
That balance seems to be a recurring theme in al-Ghazali's teachings. It's like he's always encouraging us to find that middle ground, that sweet spot between extremes.
It's a reflection of the Islamic principle of moderation, which emphasizes avoiding excesses and finding equilibrium in all aspects of life.
So as a host, it's about creating a warm and welcoming atmosphere, providing ample food and drink without going overboard, and most importantly, having sincere intentions, rooted in generosity and a desire to please God.
You've got it. And now let's shift our focus. to the guest's role in this reciprocal dance of hospitality.
Yes, because it's a two-way street, right? Guests have responsibilities too.
Absolutely. Al-Ghazali outlines specific etiquettes for guests, emphasizing the importance of showing appreciation and respect for their host's generosity.
So no complaining about the food or criticizing the decor.
Exactly. Guests should avoid being demanding, picky, or critical. They should accept what's offered with gratitude and avoid overstaying their welcome.
I remember that story you mentioned earlier about the guest who hid the food he didn't like under his bread. It's such a powerful example of prioritizing the host's feelings and avoiding causing any offense.
It's a beautiful illustration of the sensitivity and consideration that Islam encourages in social interactions. It's about putting the host's comfort and feelings above one's personal preferences.
It makes you realize that even small gestures can have a big impact when it comes to hospitality. It's about being mindful of the other person's efforts and showing genuine appreciation.
And those gestures of appreciation don't have to be grand or elaborate. Al-Ghazali emphasizes the importance of simply expressing gratitude verbally, thanking the host sincerely for their hospitality.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful gestures are the simplest ones. A heartfelt thank you can go a long way in conveying appreciation and strengthening the bond between host and guest.
And that bond, that connection, is at the heart of Al-Ghazali's teachings on hospitality. He sees it as a way to foster unity, strengthen relationships, and build a sense of community.
It's interesting how he connects these social interactions to a broader spiritual purpose. It's like he's saying that hospitality isn't just about enjoying a nice meal together. It's about cultivating virtues, strengthening bonds, and ultimately drawing closer to God through our interactions with others.
That's exactly it. And he doesn't stop there. Al-Ghazali goes on to provide detailed guidance on specific aspects of guest etiquette, covering everything from how to enter a home to where to sit and when to speak.
Wow, he really thought of everything.
He was thorough, that's for sure. For example, he emphasizes entering a home with the right foot first, greeting the host and other guests with salam, peace, and avoiding interrupting conversations or speaking out of turn.
It reminds us that even in these seemingly small actions, there's an element of mindfulness and adab, that sense of proper conduct and etiquette. It's like we're bringing our best selves to the table, literally and figuratively.
Precisely. It's about embodying Islamic principles in every aspect of our lives, from the grand gestures to the minute details.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of being a good host and a gracious guest. But I'm wondering if Al-Ghazali addresses any of those more nuanced situations that can arise in social settings. What about different types of invitations? Are there some that are considered obligatory to accept and others that are optional?
That's a great question. And you're right, Al-Ghazali does delve into this in detail. He outlines specific categories of invitations and the appropriate response for each. For instance, he states that an invitation to a wedding feast is generally considered obligatory to accept, unless there's a valid excuse.
That makes sense. Weddings are such important cultural and religious events, and attending them is seen as a way to show support for the couple and their families.
Exactly. And it's not just about fulfilling a social obligation. It's about participating in a joyous occasion and contributing to the blessings and good vibes of the event.
What about invitations from people who are less well off? Does Al-Ghazali have any guidance on that?
He actually encourages accepting invitations from the poor and less fortunate, even if it means foregoing a more lavish or prestigious gathering.
That's a beautiful message of humility and social equality. It challenges us to prioritize genuine connection and compassion over status or material wealth.
It's a reminder that true hospitality transcends social hierarchies, and that sometimes the most rewarding experiences come from sharing a simple meal with those who might not have much to offer materially, but have hearts full of warmth and gratitude.
It makes you rethink your priorities, doesn't it? It's like, who cares if the food isn't fancy or the house isn't perfectly decorated if you're surrounded by people who genuinely care about you and are happy to have you in their company?
Exactly. It's about recognizing the inherent worth of every individual, regardless of their social standing or material possessions. Al-Ghazali reminds us that true wealth lies in good character, kindness, and generosity of spirit.
Okay, so we should try to accept invitations from those who are less fortunate. What about invitations that are motivated by pride or a desire to show off one's wealth or status? Does Al-Ghazali address that?
He specifically discourages accepting invitations that are rooted in pride or ostentation. He emphasizes that our intentions should be pure, focused on genuine connection and hospitality, not on seeking admiration or elevating our social standing.
So it's not about using hospitality as a means to impress others or boost our egos.
Exactly. It's about ensuring that our actions are aligned with sincere and virtuous motives. It's about embodying the concept of Ihsan, striving for excellence and beauty in our actions, both internally and externally.
It's like if we're going to a gathering just to be seen, or
Mm.
to show off our fancy clothes or expensive gifts, then we're missing the whole point of hospitality.
You're absolutely right. It becomes a superficial act devoid of spiritual meaning. True hospitality, according to al-Ghazali, flows from a genuine desire to please God and to embody his attributes of generosity, kindness, and compassion.
It's about aligning our actions with our higher purpose. Even in something as seemingly ordinary as sharing a meal with others, it's about bringing a sense of sacredness and intentionality to these everyday moments.
And that's where the true beauty of al-Ghazali's teachings lies. He weaves spirituality into the fabric of daily life, showing us that even simple acts like hosting a meal can be imbued with profound meaning and purpose.
Okay, so we've talked about the intentions behind hospitality and the general guidelines for both hosts and guests.
Mhm.
But I'm curious about some of those finer details that he gets into. What about seating arrangements? Does he have any recommendations on how to honor guests, particularly those of higher social standing?
You're right, he does address seating arrangements. He mentions that guests should be seated according to their social rank, and that special consideration should be given to elders, scholars, and those in positions of authority.
That makes sense. It's about recognizing and respecting hierarchies within society, which is a value that's emphasized in many cultures and traditions.
Exactly. It's not about creating rigid divisions or promoting inequality. It's about acknowledging the wisdom, experience, and contributions of those who hold certain positions or have attained a certain level of respect within the community.
So it's about honoring those who have earned respect through their age, knowledge, or service to others. It's like showing them deference and gratitude for their contributions.
You've got it. And that respect extends to how we serve food as well. Al-Ghazali emphasizes presenting food in a way that honors the guest, ensuring that it's visually appealing and that there's enough for everyone to enjoy.
So it's not just about plopping a pot of stew on the table and saying, dig in.
Not quite. Al-Ghazali would probably encourage us to put a little more effort into the presentation, even if it's just arranging the food nicely on a platter or garnishing it with some herbs.
It's about taking that extra step to show that we care, that we put thought and effort into creating a pleasant dining experience for our guests.
Exactly. It's about demonstrating respect and consideration through our actions, reflecting the Islamic principles of generosity, hospitality, and honoring our guests.
Al-Ghazali's attention to detail is impressive. He seems to have anticipated every possible scenario. I'm wondering, does he offer any advice on how to handle those potentially awkward or difficult situations that can come up? Like if a guest refuses to eat, or if there's not enough food to go around.
You're right, he does address those tricky situations. He suggests that the host should be gracious and understanding, not taking offense if a guest refuses to eat, recognizing that they might have dietary restrictions or personal preferences.
So no guilt-tripping your guests into eating something they don't want.
Exactly. And if there's not enough food to go around, Al-Ghazali advises the host to prioritize the needs of the guests over their own, even if it means going without.
That's a beautiful example of selflessness and putting the well-being of others before your own.
It's a testament to the generosity of spirit that underlies true hospitality.
It really makes you think about those stories of the early Muslims, how they would share their meager rations with strangers, even during times of hardship. It was about putting the needs of the community above their own, embodying that spirit of unity and compassion.
You're absolutely right. And Al-Ghazali is drawing on that rich tradition of Islamic hospitality, reminding us that it's not just about the food or the setting, it's about embodying those virtues of selflessness, generosity, and genuine care for others.
It's clear that Al-Ghazali saw hospitality as more than just a social obligation. It's a pathway to spiritual growth, a means of embodying divine attributes, and a way to strengthen the bonds of community. His teachings offer a profound and inspiring perspective on how to elevate these everyday interactions to a level of spiritual significance.
And what's so remarkable is that these teachings, though rooted in a specific time and place, offer timeless wisdom that resonates across cultures and centuries, inspiring us to cultivate greater kindness, generosity, and mindful awareness in our relationships with others.
His insights serve as a guide, not only for those seeking to deepen their understanding of Islamic teachings, but for anyone seeking to cultivate greater kindness, generosity, and mindful awareness in their relationships with others.
It's truly remarkable how Al-Ghazali manages to weave spirituality into the fabric of daily life, showing us that even simple acts like hosting a meal can be imbued with profound meaning and purpose.
His insights offer a profound and inspiring perspective on how to elevate these everyday interactions to a level of spiritual significance. What I find most fascinating is how al-Ghazali emphasizes the connection between our worldly actions and our spiritual well-being. We've seen this in his teachings on food and hospitality, and I'm curious to explore how this theme continues in his discussion of lawful earnings.
That's a great transition. Al-Ghazali's perspective on lawful earnings is truly insightful and highlights the interconnectedness of our material pursuits and our spiritual aspirations.
Let's dive into that in our next segment. Welcome back to the Echoes at Ihsan podcast.
We're delving deeper into Imam al-Ghazali's Ihya Ulum, specifically Volume 2, the Book of Worldly Usages.
It's remarkable how al-Ghazali weaves spirituality into the fabric of daily life. We've explored his teachings on food and hospitality, discovering how even those seemingly mundane acts can become pathways to spiritual growth.
And in this final segment, we're going to uncover another layer of his wisdom, focusing on the concept of lawful earnings.
It might seem like a shift from our previous discussions, but I have a feeling it's all interconnected, right?
You're absolutely right. Al-Ghazali emphasizes that our spiritual well-being is not just about rituals and prayers, but also about how we conduct ourselves in the world, including how we earn our livelihood.
So for him, earning a living isn't just about making money, it's a moral and spiritual imperative.
Precisely. He argues that our sustenance should be halal, permissible according to Islamic law, and obtained through honest and ethical means.
He's drawing a direct line between our worldly actions and their impact on our souls, isn't he?
Exactly. He even states that consuming unlawful food can hinder our spiritual progress and even invalidate our acts of worship.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
It really underscores the idea that what we consume affects not only our bodies, but also our hearts and minds. It's like he's saying there's no separation between our material and spiritual lives.
It's all interconnected. Al-Ghazali believed that if our earnings are tainted by dishonesty or exploitation, that taint can seep into our very being, hindering our ability to connect with the divine.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation. No matter how beautiful the structure, it's ultimately unstable.
What a powerful analogy, and it highlights the importance of ensuring that the very foundation of our lives, our means of sustenance, is solid and aligned with ethical principles.
So what are some of the specific ways al-Ghazali guides us toward earning a halal living?
He outlines various permissible ways to earn a living, including trade, agriculture, and craftsmanship. But he stresses that in all these pursuits, honesty, fairness, and integrity are paramount.
He's not just giving us a list of approved professions. He's setting a standard of conduct for any kind of work we do.
Exactly. For Al-Ghazali, it's not just about what we do, but how we do it. Our intentions, our actions, our dealings with others. All of these should reflect a commitment to ethical principles.
So a baker who uses substandard ingredients or cheats his customers, even if he's technically selling halal goods, is not truly earning a halal living.
That's a great example. Al-Ghazali would likely agree that even if the product itself is permissible, the dishonesty in the process would taint the earnings. It's about maintaining a sense of integrity and trustworthiness in all our dealings.
So it's not just about avoiding outright haram, prohibited activities, but also about cultivating a spirit of honesty and fairness in everything we do.
Precisely. He specifically warns against engaging in business practices that involve deception, exploitation, or harm to others.
Like what sorts of practices?
He condemns hoarding goods to inflate prices, cheating in weights and measures, and selling defective products. These practices might seem commonplace in some business environments, but Al-Ghazali reminds us that they go against the principles of Islamic ethics.
It's about recognizing that our pursuit of wealth should never come at the expense of others' well-being.
Exactly. He also advises against pursuing wealth for its own sake. The ultimate goal should be to provide for oneself and one's family in a way that pleases God.
So it's not about accumulating riches or chasing status symbols, but about earning a livelihood that allows us to live with dignity and fulfill our responsibilities to ourselves, our families, and our communities.
That's the essence of it. It's about finding contentment in what we have and using our wealth in a way that benefits ourselves and others.
I love that. It's about shifting our focus from acquiring more to appreciating what we have and using it for good.
And that includes giving charity and supporting those in need. Al-Ghazali sees this as a way to purify our wealth and draw closer to God.
It's like recognizing that our wealth is not truly ours to hoard, but a gift from God to be shared and used for the betterment of society.
Beautiful way to put it. And that's the heart of al-Ghazali's message. It's about recognizing that even our material pursuits, when guided by ethical principles and a desire to please God, can become acts of worship, contributing not just to our worldly success, but also to our spiritual growth.
His teachings on lawful earnings are a testament to the holistic nature of Islam, how it encompasses not just our spiritual lives, but also our conduct in the material world.
It's about recognizing that every aspect of our lives, from how we earn our money to how we interact with others, can be an opportunity for spiritual growth and drawing closer to God.
Al-Ghazali reminds us that our actions in this world have implications for our hereafter. I think he even says the world is a farm for the hereafter, doesn't he?
He does. And what we sow in this life, our intentions, our actions, our choices, will determine our harvest in the next. It's a powerful image that encourages us to live with intentionality, mindfulness, and a deep awareness of our accountability before God.
This has been an incredible journey through Imam al-Ghazali's profound insights on food, hospitality, and lawful earnings.
His teachings offer timeless wisdom, guiding us towards living lives of balance, virtue, and spiritual awareness.
As we conclude this deep dive, I'm left with a renewed appreciation for the depth and beauty of Islamic teachings, how they touch every aspect of our lives, offering guidance and inspiration for navigating the complexities of human existence.
And I hope that our listeners have gained valuable insights that they can apply in their own lives, striving to embody the principles of Ihsan, excellence and beauty, in all that they do.
May this deep dive inspire us all to approach even the most mundane aspects of our lives with mindfulness, intentionality, and a deep desire to please God.
And may it guide us towards earning our livelihoods in a way that is both ethically and spiritually nourishing, contributing to our well-being in this world and the next.
Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through the wisdom of Imam al-Ghazali.
May peace, mercy, and blessings be upon you.